Frankenstein. The name stands for fear. Frankenstein. He shocks the world as he mocks the devil. Frankenstein. He creates monsters of men. Frankenstein's most terrifying experiment comes to life. Frankenstein created woman.
Who am I? Who am I?
You see, the shield of indestructible matter. What is it for? What is it for? To give life after death, my friend, that's what it's for. Life after death.
Peter Cushing as Baron Frankenstein, who crosses swords with Satan in his fight for immortality.
He lives. See, Hans, he's alive.
Susan Denberg as Christina, the deformed creature transformed by Frankenstein to a living beauty. Within her, a dead man's revengeful urge to kill.
Kill him. Kill him. Kill him, Christina.
Foley Walters, the doctor who helps Frankenstein to violate the laws of nature.
Christina, my dear, that man possesses such power, such knowledge, that... Well, sometimes I don't even understand him myself.
Hans! The boy Hans is the tool of the Frankenstein experiment. These boys are the coordinates.
Hans. Listen. Come back.
He's come back from the grave. Somebody's brought him back.
Mr. Seal. Good morning. Good morning.
Who do you think you are?
Beans is the name. One of the Boston beans.
Mr. Hardy.
Quiet.
Action!
No rattler could rip her, no python could nip her, for she was a lad learning class. Sweet Flossie Farmer, the lovely snake charmer, who fell for a snake in the grass.
She shunned all the geezers on flying trapezers and let all the acrobats pass. The sweet Flossie Farmer, the lovely snake charmer,
went boom for a snake in the grass.
Beans is the name, one of the Boston beans.
The secret of life.
He wanted to save a friend. She wanted a world of obedient killer zombies.
Jesse James will kill us for what you are doing.
Jesse James will be caught and hanged in Shelby.
her fiendish Frankenstein monster stalks the West's most fearless outlaw.
Save your strength, Jesse James. You will need it.
Good evening, goblins and ghouls, and welcome to the Friday Night Scream Stream. I am your host, Spakenstein, joined as always by my very good friend, Mr. Evan Sink.
Good evening, everybody.
How we doing tonight, Evan?
We are great. It feels like we have been gone for forever now. How was your summer vacation, Garrett?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It has. We were on a hiatus, relatively long hiatus for this show.
For us, yeah.
For us, we don't normally take more than like a couple weeks off, but we had a little more going on and a little more to do, and so we had to push things back a little bit. But that, again, it's the I'm not even going to say it. No, it's the anticipation of this moment right here, because it feels great to be back here in the studio with you all. And I see we've already got some of our wonderful friends in the chat.
Yeah, what is up, everybody?
Blastrous, Spark, and I see Alana in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to have you here tonight as we kick off season 11 of the Scream Stream, episode 101.
It almost feels like, if we've been away for so long, it almost feels like we're back to episode 1.
A little bit, It's
welcome to the reboot. This is Scream Stream 2.0.
We're here. We finally made it. Again, we're on our second 100, dude. We did our first 100, and so now that we're on to the second batch 100, we're changing things. We're not really changing that much up, but you can look at it as we're rebooting here. And again, not only are we celebrating season 11, we are also so privileged to be kicking off this season as we celebrate Frankenstein Day. Which, let's get a
can we get a group?
Because again, if you've been following this show for a while, you know that we celebrate Frankenstein Day every year. The past 2 Frankenstein Days we've live streamed, and our very first Frankenstein Day celebration was a little symposium, kind of looking at the evolution of a couple different Frankenstein series and just the transition of the monster and the whole story from the book to the stage to the movies. And then last year we watched a teleplay version of Frankenstein starring Lon Chaney Jr., which was fun. I don't know if there was anything in particular we did with that Frankenstein Day that was educational in any way. But I'm sure that we talked about the,
I think we learned a little bit about Lon Chaney.
We learned a lot about Lon Chaney. We did. So, that's true. We're always educational. I don't know how much Frankenstein focused we were on that particular celebration.
We're more lawn focused.
More lawn focused, which is great because he's he's one of the classic classic horror titans, you know? So it was really great to watch both, you know, both that and when we watched all those trailers, because it's all public domain, and that's what we are. We're a public domain horror show. And so because we're a public domain horror show, we actually haven't gotten a chance to watch very many Frankenstein movies.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I found out that we'd get a Frankenstein Day that fell on a Friday, I said, well, I got to have a Frankenstein movie for us to watch.
It doesn't usually land on a Friday, right?
No. We I think we had a Wednesday, we had a Thursday, so now we were on a Friday.
This year, the Frankenstars have aligned.
They have aligned perfectly, and luckily, I had a movie that is you know, again, our first Frankenstein movie that we watched was Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's Daughter, which was the last trailer in our pre-roll coming in. And if you've seen that before, you saw our episode of it, which was our third episode. So it's a little rough around the edges. There's a lot of echo.
Still finding our feet a little bit.
Odd camera angles and, you know, just all kinds of maybe drinking a little more than we should have, but having fun with it. It was a good episode, really, it is. So I encourage you to go check that out. But that's the only other Frankenstein movie we've watched. So that was at the beginning of our run, and it wasn't on a Frankenstein Day. So it's good to be able to bring you a Frankenstein movie that actually kind of give us a window into some more alternative interpretations of the Frankenstein story and just the evolution of Frankenstein movies from, you know, the classic Boris Karloff stuff to the stuff that we'll be talking about later and with tonight's film, which is Lady Frankenstein from 1971. This is an Italian Gothic horror exploitation, I guess more sexploitation film. Which again, 1971, no code. So
it's the 70s. Go wild.
They did.
It's the 70s in Italy.
Yeah, right. It's the 70s in Italy, and they're I don't know. This movie has got some, you know, in some of the behind the scenes information that I found in my research. The intent will be an interesting thing for us to examine tonight. So I'm gonna ask a kind of a thesis question later on, and then we're gonna watch the movie and we're gonna see kind of.
Is it just why?
Well, I guess
is that
partly,
the question?
Sure. Well, I can give you a pretty good why, but
Okay.
I'm gonna save that fact for later. No,
Garrett's got a hard why to drop on us later.
I do. Yeah, hard why. So it's interesting. You know, this is an Italian film, but we'll talk about. There's some very interesting connections, some interesting actors and people involved. And Glastrick, great question. Is it classified as a giallo?
What is a giallo?
So a giallo, and again, apologies if I'm butchering the true the true representation of what a giallo film is, but essentially they were films that focused on, you know, mysterious killers, mysterious murders, really kind of convoluted plots and you know, elaborate set pieces. The murders were usually very elaborate set pieces, and you know, it's a lot more thriller suspense than straight up horror. But sometimes there were movies that kind of crossed the line and kind of had elements of giallos and gothic horrors and everything else. So I think that's a thing for us to examine tonight, Glastra. This is not one that I have watched very often. Well, I'll get into all that tonight. I've got a history with this movie, so we'll talk about that. It's fun. I'm excited. And of course, as always, Evan brings us a delicious cocktail to pair with the evening's film in a little segment which he calls
What were you drinking?
What are we going to be drinking tonight?
Well, tonight, since we haven't had Frankenstein Day on a Friday, I haven't really had a Frankenstein, I guess, other than maybe, I don't remember what I made for Jesse James and Frankenstein's daughter. So tonight we get something pretty special. We spent all summer making these big swings, and I thought, it's a new season. Let's kind of come back down to our comfort zone a little bit, and what better way to get into our comfort zone than with a cocktail I'm calling the Dankenstein.
It's alive.
So what we have tonight is it's hemp seed infused vodka, Mountain Dew Baja Blast, and lime juice. So kind of almost like a rum and coke kind of going off that a little bit.
Okay. A little rum and coke action.
Which I haven't had anything like that in a while. There was a time when that was really my go-to.
It's interesting. I have indulged in some rum and cokes lately, and that's still one of my go-tos, to be sure. And this is interesting. The Baja Blast, that kind of, anything with soda, I'm here for. I like a good little bit of soda in my cocktails. I don't know. It depends. Sometimes. I started out with Sprite and vodka, and I can tell you I don't ever want to drink it again.
Sprite and vodka.
Yep. It just
wonderful.
It's not. Oof.
I mean, I guess this is Mountain Dew and vodka, so it's not really that much more.
No, but Baja Blast has
it's got a certain prestige to it, I think.
It certainly does. And it looks great. So I'm very excited for this.
All right. So cheers, everybody. Season 11.
Happy Frankenstein Day. It's good. It tastes like Baja Blast.
It sure does.
Hey, that's, it's perfect. Tastes good to me. I think this is a kind of movie where, have a little bit of a lighter drink, nothing too crazy. And and I like the lime, the little bit of, that adds a little bit of kind of that cocktail.
Gets in your nose a bit.
Yeah, like it gives it more of a. See, I don't know. I don't have good terminology for my tasting of alcoholic beverages, but it gives it a little bit more of a fullness. I don't know. It just
aromatic.
Right. Aromatic. Look at that. Okay, Evan. All right. Flexing his muscle there.
Using my words over here.
Using his words over here. Yes. And well, I mean, great. I think it'll be a great pairing because tonight's film, Lady Frankenstein, is, like I said, it comes at a time where horror movies were getting a little bit more adventurous in terms of violence and gore and sex. The code had broken down, I guess, like 8 years before this, something like that. But especially in European countries, they were already like at the forefront of not really giving too much of a damn about censorship. And, if they don't like it overseas, they can just cut it out. We don't care. So this movie goes a little bit further than the contemporary Frankenstein series that ruled the decade at this time, which was, of course, the Hammer Frankenstein films, which if you saw our Frankenstein Symposium all the way back when, you'll know that these were Gothic films that added a little bit of blood and a little bit of sex appeal, but not really sex, right? So tonight's film, it's go ahead and give you the content warning. It's got a little bit more sex, pushes a little bit more on the gore and the violence. But that's a 70s exploitation movie for you, you know? It's a little
raunchy.
It's a little raunchy, it's a little dirty, it's a little, I don't want to use the word sleazy because I think we'll also see an art to what's going on here. There's some decent studios falling apart here. There's some decent production value. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we're cursed here. I heard something over there and I thought I was just imagining it.
No, yeah, you're hallucinating. The studio is falling apart. Okay, great.
Okay.
All right. It has been repaired. Thank God. Okay. So, and right when the Eric Andre music starts too, that's even better. So yeah, this movie is gonna push it a little more if you're used to the Hammer Frankenstein films. But we'll get into all that tonight. And like I said, this is a Italian horror film that has some American talent involved. It actually stars Joseph Cotten, who was most known for his collaborations with Orson Welles. He's in Citizen Kane and he did some other Orson Welles.
He did that wine commercial.
Yeah, if only he partnered up with Orson Welles and did the wine commercial. They were both in The Third Man together. They had a long partnership, but this was a time in his career where he was over in Europe making films that were kind of beneath him a little bit. But he's a very solid American actor, and he had done some horror movies up to this time. So we'll talk about him tonight. The director of tonight's film, I'll go ahead and tell you, is also named Welles. Unfortunately, not Orson. Mel Welles, who we have some familiarity with on this show. He played MUSHNIK in The Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
And he was also in he was the lecherous landlord in The She-Beast. Do you remember The She-Beast?
Yeah.
He moved to Europe right after Little Shop of Horrors. That was like his last American role for a long time. Moved to Europe, started producing and directing all different kinds of films, but a few horror films. And I'll go ahead and give you a little interesting tidbit right before we get into it. So when they were going into the production of this, some of the money fell through, and they needed another 30,000 to close the gap. So Mel Welles was able to get help from Little Shop of Horrors director Roger Corman to front the missing part of the budget.
Oh, so this is a Corman movie.
Lightly, so at this time Corman had his own studio, New World Pictures, and he basically agreed to front the remainder of the budget in exchange for the American distribution rights to Lady Frankenstein. So you'll see New World Presents. I don't know if you'll see Roger's name actually on it, but he did help provide some of the budget, and I don't know if he helped secure Joseph Cotten. So the thesis question I was going to ask, this is the last thing. Director Mel Welles said that his intention when they came up with this was to craft a little bit more of a feminist take.
Okay.
More of a feminist Frankenstein film.
Lady Frankenstein.
Hence the title. But I've seen this movie once, twice. It was a long time ago.
When you saw it those years ago, did it strike you as a feminist film?
I was maybe a little too young, though. I should not have been watching. I'll just say that.
To be clear.
For the amount of sex that's in this movie, I probably shouldn't have watched it. But when you get these cheap little public domain VHSs at the store, you think, oh, this is that's harmless. What could be?
Yeah.
There's nothing, you know.
I see Tormented on there.
So, which is a movie we've shown previously here on the Scream Stream. So, yeah, so we're finishing this VHS off finally tonight. But yeah, and I mean, even you know, there are things that kind of talk about what is the, you know, is this a feminist film or not, or is it more sexist? And that's the question that I want to put forth tonight, because again, Frankenstein is a novel that comes from a feminist author at a time where that wasn't really, you know, it wasn't really in the mainstream. You know, we know Frankenstein's monster as this figure of pop culture, but when we've talked about the novel on the show, you know, it all goes back to the fact that you have this 18-year-old girl whose birthday it is today. That's why we celebrate Frankenstein Day on August 30th.
Happy birthday, Mary, by the way.
Happy birthday, Mary Shelley. She, you know, again, she was the mother or the daughter of a feminist, and her, you know, she came from a very kind of liberal family, and so there are themes in the novel that don't always translate to the screen, and themes about gender and sex, and things that are kind of running undercurrent in it all that you'll see other people, scholars, kind of expound on, which I don't necessarily like to do. But that's where.
Do you think that was the monster's big hang up? The reason he was a monster is because he was too ugly to have sex.
I mean, essentially,
did Mary Shelley write the first incel novel?
Well, I'm sure you can find a scholarly paper that's already been written about that somewhere. I almost guarantee you can, because there is truth in that. Because think about, spoiler alert if you haven't read Frankenstein by now,
there's no sex in that book.
Well, the whole kind of like big crux that really breaks things down, what leads to the third act is the fact that the monster goes to Dr. Frankenstein and says, I want you to make me a mate. And again, he's not saying that I need a partner. I need to have sex. Of course, you know, she's not writing that.
It's between the lines.
But between the lines, and so when his creator denies him that, that's when the vengeance really kind of like starts to reach its zenith.
And then straight to Antarctica.
Which controversial third act decisions, am I right? So again, and if anybody has any questions, because in all Frankenstein movies, especially if it's got Frankenstein in the title, there's going to be allusions to certain tropes, whether they're from a movie or they can be traced back to the book. So if you have questions about tropes, feel free to ask. I do consider myself somewhat of a scholar on Frankenstein. And
okay,
so
we got a Franken buff in the house tonight.
A bit of a Franken buff, if I do say so myself. So, and I don't know what the fuck my hair is doing after that thing fell. No,
the curse just transferred to your hair.
It did. Hey, I'd rather it be there than in the
the machine.
In the machine. So we'll take it. But yeah, so this is, again, you know, we're getting to have fun with the Frankenstein movies. It's not something we get to do very often. So definitely excited for this. Anything before we get into Lady Frankenstein tonight, Evan?
Yeah, I've got a fun fact about the director, actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I know what I know his preferred brand of cigarettes. I happen to I've got the inside scoop. I know that he smoked Pall Malls.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you know this?
Yeah, everybody knows that Mel Welles smoked Pall Malls.
That's very good, Evan. On that note, and I'll just say, if we get interrupted on YouTube, please let me know in the chat That way, if I don't get an email, I can try and get in there before we get a strike, which we're trying to get our record clean. Okay,
we're trying to keep our noses clean.
We're getting there. We're getting close. Yeah, Glasstra. See, I haven't seen Penny Dreadful, but I have heard good things about that portrayal of the monster. So I'm gonna have to get there eventually. But I have not ventured into the Penny Dreadful waters yet. The day will come. Yeah, so again, that's the fun thing about having a Frankenstein day. We can talk about the Frankenstein portrayals we like. You know, feel free to share in the chat. I mean, all things Frankenstein. We're here for it. That's what tonight is all about. So, on that note, we're going to go ahead and get into the exciting beginning of Lady Frankenstein right now.
We're not getting into ultra violence tonight, are we?
I love that font. Fancy on the lady, monstrous on the Frankenstein. It wouldn't be a Frankenstein movie without some grave robbers, of course. Mickey Hargitay is the father of Mariska Hargitay from Law and Order SVU. So there's a lot of pseudonyms here in the names, you know, a lot of Italian crew members. You know, that was a common practice to change the names for the American credits. I mean, it's public domain, Glastra. It can be done. It's nice to get back into a castle, too. I feel like it's been a long time since we've been in a castle. Cleo Converse. Alessandroni. Produced, directed.
Bit overripe, that one. Best I could do this week. People just never die when it suits you. Do they, Doctor? Oh, beg your pardon, Baron.
You don't have to count it. It's all there.
Oh, it is, always is. See you next week.
Lynch, yeah. I may need you sooner than next week. Something very special this time.
Oh, I like that. Very special. Has a ring of money to it, eh?
I want a corpse dead no longer than 6 hours. 200.
No, 500.
300.
Done. Let's say I'm
nice.
A patron of science. But I can't promise.
Results, not promises.
I don't understand your trusting him so much.
Money, Charles, is a miracle drug for people like Lynch.
Oh, hell yeah. Getting right into the lab. You'll love to see it.
We've got a slab on a slab.
Mm-hmm. They're already deep in the process. I love how most Frankenstein movies do start in media res. Like, we can't waste time on that. He has the idea, and then he starts to test, and then he gathers the parts. Like, no. He's gathering parts. He's almost there. We're going to get a creation scene in the first 30 minutes.
Put it with the others.
Such a grotesque dream. Or perhaps he shall be a nightmare.
Would it matter?
Not to me, not if I can give him life. That's worth anything.
Including your own life?
Even that. To succeed in creating life is the ultimate achievement. To hesitate, to fear, to doubt now would make everything I've ever done pointless, empty. This is my life.
But to create life, shouldn't man leave that to God?
Here on Earth, man is God.
See, only an actor of Joseph Cotten's caliber can deliver a line like that.
Good night.
Fun.
Good night.
A lot of inexperienced actors would undersell that.
Well, I thought I would at least deserve a hello.
I'm sorry, Tanya. I'm very happy to see you. Your father and I were always happy to see you. Here, let me help you.
Thank you.
How lovely you look. Thomas? Thomas, come here. Thomas? Would you please take Mademoiselle's luggage? Take the luggage inside. Luggage inside, eh? Tanya?
Tanya Frankenstein. What a name.
Your father is still dressing. He worked rather late last night.
As usual. Is he still experimenting with animal transplants?
Well, you know how he is. He's been at it for 20 years.
In a manner of
He'll be at it
speaking,
for another
yes.
20, but tell me about the university.
Well, except for my studies, it was rather
Oh, it's
boring.
definitely a
But I
Chekhov
didn't go
sheep
there to
classroom.
socialize. Aren't you pleased?
The
I'm like my
sheep's gonna
father,
shoot
stubborn.
somebody in the third
When
act.
I want something, I get it. And I did. First of my class. I'm now a licensed surgeon.
Congratulations, Doctor.
Father!
Dr. Frankenstein?
Oh.
Dr. Frankenstein.
So nice to
little
see
girl.
you.
Is that the way for a licensed surgeon to behave?
This one does.
Oh, yeah, Jack Morgan. Poor son of a
Surgeons
bitch.
aren't allowed
They're
to be
gonna hang
happy.
him good. Snap his neck for sure.
Gotta keep your composure.
What about it, Simon? You and Harry with me?
Poor son of a bitch, Jack Morgan. Never did like him, though. Neither did you, right?
I'm waiting, yes or no?
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom.
And Harry?
Where I go, he goes.
Toast to Jack Morgan. Long may he die.
But you have heard this story many times before.
It doesn't matter, Father. It's a charming story. You know, Father, the name Frankenstein still echoes through the halls of the university.
I'm not surprised, but I stopped caring about those fools when I left them with their hands clapped over their ears 30 years ago.
The Alumni
Please sit down,
Association
George. Your
kept
leg
asking me
must be
for
tied.
money.
It's
I
fine.
got sick of it.
Thank you.
Was it difficult? I mean, very difficult being my daughter.
Sometimes. Mostly it was my being a woman. The professors have a lot of old-fashioned ideas about a woman's place.
I'm sure you will make a fine surgeon.
Thank you, Charles. But I do not want to be merely a fine surgeon.
What do you want?
To assist you, Father, in your work. You know, since I was a youngster, I was always interested in your experiments.
Youngster.
Each summer when I was here, I...
Doesn't seem convincing in period garb.
But it was always locked.
I know. But I discovered the other way. The one through the wall. The bedroom wall.
Huh. Well, you little devil.
Well, you got me.
I was always curious. I still am.
You don't think I'm gonna not hear the sound of those machines going at all hours of the night?
And to show you my own progress.
I shall be delighted to discuss it with you, of course.
Dad, for 10 years, I heard you every night at 2 a.m. screaming, "It's alive!"
But I must warn you that my ideas are quite radical. Even more so than yours, Father.
Totally radical, Father.
Of course. I am my father's daughter.
You are referring to animal transplants.
Human.
Just come right out and say it.
I mean, technically, right?
Ooh.
Why another 100?
This order is very delicate. There are certain people that have to be paid in advance.
What people?
Well, Baron, you know, I can't tell you. Professional ethics.
Don't speak to me of ethics.
If you want what you want, it will cost you another 100. The way I see it, Baron, you don't have any choice.
I'll have to get it for you.
Take your time and don't worry. I won't sit down. I wouldn't want to damage this wonderful furniture.
You're gonna get your filthy peasant fingers all over it.
Excuse me. I was looking for my father.
Would that be Dr. Marshall?
It would not.
Well, I never thought the Baron had it in him.
But Dr. Marshall would.
No, not on his best night. A drink, eh?
Much too early.
Can I mix you
Never
a
too
Frankenstein?
For anything.
My dear sir, you are an obnoxious man, extremely vulgar, and I'm certain that whatever you are thinking is merely fantasy on your part. I would say that you spend too much time alone in your fantasies. Be careful. It will soften your brain far quicker than whiskey.
I was just thinking, wouldn't it be nice if
How
we could
can
get
somebody
Baja
so
Blast,
lovely
not at Taco
be
Bell?
such a bitch?
Depends on the company I'm with. I'm sorry, Father. I'm sorry. I didn't know you had a visitor.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes?
I will see you out.
Always a pleasure to talk to a lady. Good day, lady.
Oh, he almost said it.
Father, I said I was sorry.
I heard you.
Oh, yeah.
200 now. 200 on delivery. When will it be?
Very soon.
This body is COD, pal.
Morgan, day after tomorrow.
So?
So he's your man.
I thought they agreed 300.
I think he went up on the price.
Oh. I think bodies just grow on trees, pal.
Well, that's what they were saying at the beginning. There's a body shortage going on in the village.
Well, I don't suppose you'll be missing Jack Morgan very much.
About as much as I would miss you, Captain.
That really depresses me, Lynch. Because one day you'll be shaking hands with Morgan in hell.
Oh, I'll save my other hand for you, Captain.
You don't have much time, Lynch. You're sure to make a mistake one day. And that's the day I'll own you. And it won't be just jail for you. You're too clever for that. It's the hanging one. That's what you want, and I'll see you get what you want. It's the least I can do.
Maybe you will, maybe you won't.
Oh, I will.
Yeah?
I will, Lynch.
Dun 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 dun.
How many layers of clothing are these people wearing?
I don't know. The climate in Italy, man. Maybe it's I mean, we saw the snow. It's snowing.
Doctor.
That hat. You can't come to this execution. It's not ladylike for a lady to witness an execution.
What are you doing here?
I was on my way to town. I saw the people. Why? What's going on?
Something I'd rather you not see.
A hanging.
She's a surgeon.
Nor will you see this one.
Now, Father, I may be a woman, but I am also a doctor. Death is nothing new to me.
This is not death, Tanya. This is legalized murder.
I have a scientific interest in this man being killed.
Maybe she should.
Thank you, Charles.
Don't thank him yet.
Dang.
Are you ready, Jack? And what if I ain't? Made any difference,
Just
you
a
idiot?
short step from here.
Why didn't I ever cut your throat?
Seunte seum clamidem conciniam circundederum tei, et plectentes coronam de spinis et expuentes in eum acceperunt arundum.
Oh.
Ready.
Requiem aeternam
Dracula.
Dei Domine, et lux perpetua lucia tei. Amen.
Dang. Yeah, isn't that wild, Glastra? You know, entertainment.
What else is going on?
Let's get the kids, pack a picnic basket, go watch the hanging.
Not natural.
Terrible.
It's like going to the movies.
I guess.
Whoa!
You get the whole story, the whole like
Hey up, Baron.
Good work.
lore.
Lynch. Good work.
Thank you.
Charles.
Go on, Turner. Earn your money. Yes, sir, Baron. I really like doing business with you. It's clean and it's quiet.
Was it difficult?
As difficult as drinking a bottle of whiskey. And you can see that's not.
Then why am I paying you so much?
How much blood?
1 liter this time.
A liter of what?
A liter of blood. Oh, she's gonna start sneaking around the castle.
As one does.
I mean, he already knows she knows where it's at. I mean,
Yeah.
he should just have her help him. But you gotta get this gothic horror scene of her going through the trap door into the secret passage.
Good. Now we're ready.
Tanya.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't.
I was hoping you wouldn't do this.
So this is why you no longer use the animals. Human transplants.
Tanya, will you please leave?
But I can help you.
You don't understand.
I do, Father. I do. What are you going to do with the brain?
Well, that's cool, Glastra. I did not know that.
Father, will you both stop treating me like a child? I'm a doctor, a surgeon. I even think like you do.
No.
You gotta love the 70s crash zoom. It's the best thing ever.
It's impossible. Charles.
It is not impossible, Tanya.
But the heart, the brain, you have to keep them alive.
Yes, we've done it before.
Inside another human body?
We don't need a human body.
Yeah, Glasser, I can see that. Like
Morgan's
discordant.
heart and brain into that creature.
Tanya, no more questions.
But Father.
I don't want you to get involved. If anything should go wrong, the law would hold you equally responsible. And I don't want that to happen. Soon I'll tell you everything. Please be patient.
Look, we're having a guys' night, okay?
Good luck.
Good luck.
Hope you bring your dead guy back to life.
Is everything ready?
Ready.
That's true, Glasser. She's not worried about it.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is no strict Fatten lab equipment. This is some bootleg Frankenstein lab equipment.
There's a whole lot of science going on in here.
We got a pocket watch and a little box.
Got this shit is bubbling.
Timing device ready, Doctor.
Set it.
Set it and forget it. Oh, nice. It's a massive heart. I mean, it's nice to just see some good old-fashioned Frankenstein lab work, you know? The doctor at work. It's both, Glasser. It's essentially the same skill set. Bomb diffusion, open heart surgery.
Give it a few more seconds.
Tonight, 60 minutes. It's alive.
It's alive.
I hope Mr. Morgan.
Does he say that for every like limb or every piece that he successfully
It will be Charles.
moves from one body to the other? They love this in these 70s Frankenstein movies, cutting the head open.
And so for the past 20 years, my experiments with animal transplants have been pointed to this week. All the abuses I have endured from my friends, all the
Why are we
accusations
still talking about
against my
animal
sanity and worse will be thrown into their sanctimonious faces.
Looking for something?
Yes, clouds. I need a storm for my final step, an electrical storm. For only lightning will give the creature life. That's why I haven't transplanted the heart and the brain. Oh, I can keep them alive indefinitely in the laboratory, but once I transplant them, they'll survive only a few hours unless they're activated by lightning.
I want to see how you keep them alive.
You shall.
You will succeed, Father.
I will. I promise you I will. And the medical world will be brought to its knees.
I want that so much. To see you realize your dream. Something that no one will ever take away from you.
They won't have to. I'll give it to them. Gladly.
Oh, there's your storm. Ambition is the other big like undercurrent in the Frankenstein story, you know?
Yeah, hubris.
Which even extends to something like Frankenstein's Monster Frankenstein. If you want to know what the connection is to Frankenstein in that, it's the theme of ambition. It should be fun. I mean, cool looking, but
is it necessary for
Is
the
it
lights in the
necessary?
lab to do that?
Brain. Doctor, quickly.
The brain is glowing.
That's a huge beaker.
Just
Look at
below
that
the corner.
thing.
It is massive.
In the white matter?
No, further down, in the gray matter. See, the hypothalamus is damaged.
Not the hypothalamus.
It's
Oh,
no good, Doctor.
You botched it.
It must be repaired.
There isn't
Botched
time.
brain.
We must make the time. You cannot use a damaged brain.
To what extent is it damaged? Perhaps it's minor.
And if it isn't, the hypothalamus is the main center of the automatic nervous system. You may be creating something that cannot function. What good would that be? To give it life and just let it lie there, nothing more?
We'll have to take that risk.
What about anger and pleasure? Two emotions connected to the damaged part of the brain. Two vital emotions. Either one in excess could be devastating. Correct the damage first.
There isn't time, Charles. Every minute cuts into the life of that heart. 20 years. I can't throw away 20 years by minutes.
But think, Doctor.
Think, no. Instinct. Instinct changes the world, not thought, and my instinct tells me to transplant that brain right now if you won't help me. I'll do it alone.
Very well, then.
Thank you, Charles.
So that's a common trope that always kind of cracks me up, is the whole idea of the damaged brain, right?
Yeah, that they just can't get this right.
But it's funny because, like, you know, in the very first movie, Dr. Frankenstein doesn't even know it's a bad brain.
Yeah.
You know, in the first Hammer Frankenstein movie, he does know. Here, it's funny that he's confronted with it and he's like, I don't care. I'm not...
We're just gonna go ahead. Look, that was my last $400, okay? I can't afford another one.
Fuck thinking, we need to act. I love what's going on here. And that is gonna take us to our first break. So we are a third of the way through Lady Frankenstein. What are we thinking so far, Evan?
I'm having fun with this. I'm loving it. This is just some good crunchy Frankenstein action.
Right?
It's what you would want from a Frankenstein movie.
Right, exactly. It's not too... It's covering all the tropes, right? It's definitely got no, like... It's got no problem hitting the beats of that every Frankenstein movie does, and at about the same pace. And there's some, you can tell it's dancing around some themes that, you know, you can see kind of the very like face value feminist kind of treatment they're trying to give here.
Mhm.
Like, well, I'm a surgeon and I should be.
Dad, I'm also evil. Why can't you see that?
Yeah. Right. So it's a little I mean, again, it's early, but so far it's fun and it's moving fast as a Frankenstein movie should usually. But when you're a third of the way through, you want to get a creation scene going. You need to. People don't want to wait. The very first Frankenstein movie proved that, right? Right. And like Spark is saying, it starts in the cemetery. And that's exactly how Frankenstein 1931 starts, in the cemetery. It's hitting almost the exact same beats. It's just kind of inserting this, daughter character in who she's really not having too much of a impact on the proceedings right now. She's just kind of watching Dr. Frankenstein, at work. And
hopefully she'll have a little more to do in the second act.
Oh, she will. She'll get after it. Joseph Cotten, I can understand them wanting to give Joseph Cotten kind of a spotlight as Dr. Frankenstein, but I think he's kind of phoning it in a little bit, to be honest with you. He seems a little like disengaged. And he's a great actor. I think either the same year as this or either right before or right after, he did the Vincent Price movie, The Abominable Dr. Phibes, and he plays the hero to Vincent Price's villainous Dr. Phibes, and he's great. Like, he's this great, he's a surgeon who is was the chief of the team that operated on Vincent Price's character's wife, and his wife died. So now he's seeking vengeance on this team of surgeons and killing them one by one according to the plagues of the Bible. Like the Old Testament. Dude, it's because he's a master musician, but he's also an expert in biblical history. He's like,
he's apparently got a locust guy and a frog guy.
Dude,
on speed dial.
Yes, legit. Like the frog thing they do is actually pretty good. Like, I won't spoil it, but you need to. That's a proto slasher that really comes close. And Vincent Price is just like, it's funny to see him in that role of basically he murders 9 people in the movie. Like, they're kind of classic. These kind of classic horror movies don't always get a very high body count. So we'll see. But so Joseph Cotten, he had some decent horror roles, but Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, which is one of my dad's like favorite movies. Like, I think both him and my mom tell stories about like seeing bits of that movie when they were kids and it scared them because there's like, like a head falling out of a box and rolling down the stairs. But it's it's kind of a campy, like black and white horror movie with Betty Davis, putting on a big Southern accent, and Joseph Cotten is playing a country doctor putting on a big Southern accent. He's actually from the South, so and it's funny hearing his Southern accent. You can kind of catch it here as Dr. Frankenstein. If you ever want to do Dr. Frankenstein with the Southern accent, here you go. You've got it, Lady Frankenstein.
It's alive.
Yeah, it's alive. Yeah. So, but it's funny because this, again, like I talked about, the evolution of Frankenstein movies is kind of a big thing that I wanted to touch on tonight, because what we find with this movie, what we've already found so far, is that it's hitting a lot of the same familiar beats of the Frankenstein 1931 and a lot of the same Frankenstein movies. It's doing what you want,
but it's also a family movie.
Right, isn't it? It is. It's a family film. I mean, that's the thing. We haven't really gotten to. We've gotten a little bit of gore, but we haven't really gotten a lot of, of the other stuff. But yeah, I mean, so far, yeah, they've given you a little bit of that family thing, right? I mean, Frankenstein's had sons and brides and, everything. So at a certain point, the daughter, for which there had been a movie before this called Frankenstein's Daughter. There has been the trailer. We saw the movie for Frankenstein Created Woman, which was another one of those that kind of skewed a little more, kind of leading into the gender themes with the Frankenstein story. So the thing is, The evolution of Frankenstein, I think, you can kind of be broken up into at least 4 kind of distinct periods, or even just kind of, let's see, what did I have written down? Like the kinds of films. So the first is the classic Frankenstein film, which is the Universal stuff, right? I would say the first, up to the at least the first 4 Universal Frankenstein films, because they're focused on the Dr. Frankenstein relationship, the story, and those are just classics, right? A lot of the later movies just take different tropes from the first that were introduced in the first 4 movies. So, and of course, Bride of Frankenstein is kind of considered the, even a sequel that some people say improves upon the original. But it deals a little more with gender themes and a little bit more. Obviously, there's like there's queer undertones in there, right? Like there's all kinds of, because of the director, you kind of got a little bit more of a subversive movie than was normal for the time, because the code was like big. So even by the second Frankenstein film, people were already like, okay, we got to make this a little more interesting. We can't just kind of follow the same story every time. We got to we got to spice it up a little bit. So I'd say the first 4 movies do that within the bounds of, okay, here's Dr. Frankenstein and here's Frankenstein's monster. Then you get Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, right? So it's like, okay, we got to mash Frankenstein's monster up with somebody because he's not interesting enough on his own. So that's what the second kind of period is, the monster mash Frankenstein. And it's where sometimes the monster's paired up with other monsters, but sometimes it's just mashing up the Frankenstein story with some other theme or idea. So like,
does Jesse James count as
exactly a monster mash? Because you're mashing up the Frankenstein story with the Western, right? You're throwing those 2 things together. Frankenstein Conquers the World mixes the Frankenstein story and kaiju films, and boom, you're mashing up. You're getting, because just doing the Dr. Frankenstein doing a straight adaptation. The classic films had already set a high bar. So you had to, so for decades, you kind of got, and even the Hammer films, they brought sex appeal and gore and very lightly built that up over time. They didn't come right out of the gate. But again, it was, we've got to add something more to this because just the story on its own isn't quite that interesting. So Hammer horror films are kind of like, that's the series that's the pinnacle of kind of that second period that's more monster mash stuff. And they did a movie that came out the year before this called Horror of Frankenstein. That's the second trailer we'll see for the break. We'll see the Bride of Frankenstein trailer, and then the trailer for Horror of Frankenstein, which is a Hammer Frankenstein movie. And it was their attempt to reboot their own Frankenstein series, because they had one guy playing Dr. Frankenstein for the first like 4 movies, and then they decided, oh, let's just reboot the whole thing. It's kind of getting stale. So they brought in a new guy and they kind of retold the story, but they put in more sex and they kind of made it started to venture a little more to the parody. So you get this gateway into the third period, which is parodies. And we'll talk more about that later. But even tonight's film kind of fun. So you have these periods and you have gateway films. And so tonight's film is like kind of a gateway in where exploitation is brought in, mashing in the Frankenstein story with exploitation elements. But then it also kind of starts to become a parody of the tropes and of the story, right? So that's what you'll see even with the Horror of Frankenstein trailer. So it's and we'll talk about the fourth period later on. We'll talk about kind of the transition, but certainly you know, there's a lot of meat on the bones of the Frankenstein story that people were able to kind of really come up with some interesting plays. But I think Bride of Frankenstein and even like Horror of Frankenstein are two movies that you can see a lot of the groundwork being laid in those films, leading the way to tonight's film, Lady Frankenstein, because of just the themes that they touch on and the fact that they're trying to kind of, again, a little more focus on sex, which we haven't seen yet in the movie, but it's gonna ramp up in the second part. But we're gonna get these two trailers, and then when we come back, we'll get into the exciting middle of Lady Frankenstein. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Shrink from this eye, this all-seeing eye. Hide from these hands, these powerful hands. Run from the horror, the ultimate horror of Frankenstein. Prepare yourself for a new Frankenstein. Searing the screen with excitement. A young Frankenstein, experimenting with the forbidden secret of life itself, molding his most terrifying creation.
We're going to make a person. One of the first things we're going to need is the raw material. But fresh, mind you. Nothing more than 3 days old.
Anything I bring you will be so fresh, get past the government meat inspector.
Alice, she's my housekeeper. I hope she can cook.
People just aren't dying off so quick. It's the welfare state. That's what it is.
Frankenstein is back to raise the dead, to terrorize the living. The masters of suspense offer you a shocking bargain. Your ticket entitles you to be frightened out of your wits at no extra charge.
And we are back. So that was the trailers for Bride of Frankenstein and Horror of Frankenstein, which I have not seen horror. I've not seen all of Horror of Frankenstein. I've seen all those other Peter Cushing, Hammer horror Frankenstein movies, but just never could get into Horror of Frankenstein. It just doesn't, it didn't seem like my thing. I don't know.
Just
It's
not your
weird.
thing.
Just not my thing. But I think it does. Just from that trailer, you can see that it's got more in common with like tonight's film in terms of the kind of the set design, and you'll see a little bit of dark humor. Again, by even the early 70s, the Frankenstein story had kind of been masked with just about everything, and it had kind of been milked for all of its worth. And so that's when you start to get more of the parodies, which we'll talk more about in our second break. So,
yeah, that head almost looked like a parody.
Right. Well, you should have. So I was telling Evan, the actor playing the Frankenstein monster in Horror of Frankenstein is David Prowse, who played Darth Vader in the suit in the first 3 Star Wars movies. He was obviously not the voice of Darth Vader, much to his chagrin. But it was that he played the Frankenstein monster in the last Hammer Frankenstein movie. It's a different monster, and the suit, it's a suit, and it looks more ridiculous than his makeup there. Like, at least there, he's got kind of like the square head that you see with, like, the flat top that you see with Frankenstein's monster. In Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, which is a great movie, and Peter Cushing is great, and I do love that movie, but the monster looks like an ape man.
Oh no.
And he's like more hunched over, he's all hairy, and he's got like a big...
Nobody's ever done Harry Frankenstein before.
No, they had not since, and it is an odd looking monster, to be sure. But it's a great movie, and it's, from what I've heard, it's better than Horror of Frankenstein. Again, I can't judge because I haven't actually watched Horror of Frankenstein all the way through. But those Hammer Frankenstein movies are really pretty interesting, and ridiculous makeup there. But that's the thing is, whereas the Universal movies, they always have the same monster. The monster always looks the same. In the Hammer movies, it's always a different monster. So the makeup is always something different. Mm-hmm. And some are better than others. I think the first one's honestly the best one. And then after that, they just kind of get worse. So it is. And then in Frankenstein Created Woman, it's just a beautiful model. That's so
you don't even have to try there.
No, they had no like gruesome makeup, and I mean, they had some makeup in that, but it's not monster. It's more disfigurement makeup, which is the whole thing. But that's the one movie where sexy monster, and again, that's just the whole thing. The sexploitation of Frankenstein, the sex themes of Frankenstein. That's what we're also talking about tonight. Sexy Frankenstein.
Sexy
right?
Frankenstein.
So the sexy Frankenstein films, right? And that we'll get more of that in the second break. A little tease for you.
Yeah, something to chew on. Which Frankenstein is the sexiest?
That's the poll we should have. What's the sexiest Frankenstein? God knows there's a long list. Again, movie monsters, Dracula and Frankenstein are the two that they're public domain. So they just get kind of mined for all they're worth. And hey, much to our benefit. So we're about to get into the exciting middle of Lady Frankenstein. And we left off, they are getting ready to fire this puppy up and bring this creation to life. You can't call it a monster yet. It hasn't been born. It hasn't done anything monstrous yet. We can't call it a monster yet, but rest assured, much like most of any Dr. Frankenstein's creations, goes south. So, yeah. Anything before we get into the exciting middle of Lady Frankenstein, Evan?
So, how come we never get the scene where, before, Dr. Frankenstein has moved on to experimenting with humans and he's still working with animals? How come we never get the scene where he gets the, like, abnormal rabbit brain, or so he creates a monster dog
animal
or something?
See, that's the thing is you could do something good there. Tim Burton kind of killed, like, when I say killed it, I mean did really like well with Frankenweenie.
Well, yeah, true.
But the idea of if it was a real because Frankenweenie's misunderstood, which again, that's the beauty of that movie, is it still plays with that element of this isn't really a monster, it's just society is, which again, there are different readings of the Frankenstein story. Again, the original novel, that's kind of where it's going, is that it's society is responsible for turning this thing into a monster, whereas the other reading is, oh, well, this person transgressed against God, and so now this is a that's so the themes can go all over the place with Frankenstein, but the animal experiments is a trope that doesn't always get used. Sometimes like the original movies don't really. I mean, Frankenstein, I guess there's a line where he says, "First I experimented with dead animals," right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't really go into it. Obviously, in the 30s, you don't want to.
They do a lot of glossing in the original book.
Yeah. But
they yada yada their way all the way to creating a human.
Mary Shelley really did. Yeah, it is kind of funny. We talked about it before in our other Frankenstein Day episodes, how much of our notions of the story and of the plot elements really come from the tropes introduced through movies over time and not actually the original novel, because they had, to Evan's point, they had to fill in the gaps because she did yada yada a lot of that, like, evolution of how Dr. Frankenstein, of his process, because obviously what are you really gonna detail? And there's so much more to that story that gets lost in translation. But welcome Sears. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I believe that Kathy, aka Spark, is maybe lurking around on Twitch, I believe. So yeah, we're enjoying this Frankenstein Day so far. We'll see. I think we're about to get a little creature action. So on that note, we're gonna go ahead and get into the exciting middle of Lady Frankenstein right now.
Open it.
Yes, Sears. I did watch that one a few years ago for the first time, and it's interesting. It's not bad. It plays with the tropes in interesting ways. I think that's probably the first one to actually do the Antarctica. Obviously, a hard thing to do in the movies. Why go all the way to Antarctica? Or the South. I don't remember where they went to. That's right. Jane Seymour, James Mason. She really wants to be in that lab. She looks really bummed out. Dang. Joseph Cotten's over here doing his own stunts, climbing ladders. this set.
Don't worry, Charles. Everything will be fine.
Everything will be fine. I'm Dr. Frankenstein.
Bands will be done.
Southern Fried Frankenstein.
Hell
That
yeah.
might be a movie, I think. Somebody might have already done that.
Kentucky Fried Frankenstein.
He only eats chicken.
We're gonna bring the Colonel back to life.
Oh, we got bats. Oh, sick. Okay, I'm liking that. I like that line. It's a pretty good set. Pretty big set.
He's been hit.
He's been hit. Why are they letting all these bats fly around him? He's gonna catch some disease before he even gets reanimated. Oh, he's on fire!
Oh.
Shit!
Close the skylight. Hurry,
That's
Charles.
great. He's been hit. That's, you don't see that. About that. Nice skylight too. Why are there bats flying around?
They are not concerned at all with these bats. These are our lab bats.
I guess they just love bats. Oh! Ah, he's fine. Do the cosmetic surgery later.
Nothing. All we can do is wait.
Look at his pants.
Devil in his face. I don't care what he looks like. I want him to live.
I don't care what he looks like.
I never said anything about living well.
Well, what do you, Dr. Frankenstein, do you ever think about how that's going to work out for your creation? Oh, I don't care how he looks. Yeah, then what do you think? Of course he's going to get made fun of and turn into a monster.
A fail, Charles. You were right. I should have taken time to repair the brain damage.
It probably wouldn't have made any difference.
No way,
The effect of the
Glastra. Is that
damage would only show
true?
after the brain was reactivated.
That's
Never
wild.
And to never know
You just,
is
these
more
bats, they have squatters' rights?
Bats' rights.
Oh, look, here we go.
I'm afraid not. No use trying to make me feel better.
It's a good shot.
It's too late for me, Charles. Perhaps Tanya will succeed. Will you help her?
Of course. But wait and see how you feel.
You're right, Sears. He does look like,
I'll feel the
Jason.
same. I don't even know if I want her to attempt it.
It's Jason under the mask.
That was just self-indulgence. The whole experiment may have been a mistake.
No, it wasn't.
The whole experiment was just me having
Perhaps
fun.
there are some things man should leave to God. Never thought I'd hear myself say.
I should have just bought a model train set. Oh my god.
He's alive.
Kind of looks like Lon Chaney's monster a little bit.
He's still got a pretty big head.
Yep, big bald head, scars running across his face.
Step back, Charles.
Stitches.
See.
What did Frankenstein's monster say after Dracula told him a joke?
Sit up.
What?
I'm in stitches.
Sit up!
He didn't just go, ah.
Oh, well, yeah, that too. Sorry. It goes without saying.
Stand. Stand!
He's got the big black boots.
I know. It's again, it's a Hallmark.
Dang, nice striped pants.
Dude, that's what I said earlier. Those are nice pants. Again, it's the 70s. Come on. Gotta have nice pants. That's a good point, Lasher.
It is a good point.
We've done it, Charles. We've done it. Look at it. Go get Tanya.
Yeah, he's horrified.
Get her.
Come forward.
Look at that skull.
God.
Come forward.
They made Mad Eye Moody from Harry Potter.
They did. Too bad it, yeah, his eyes are moving around though.
Another step.
So the effects were by a guy named Carlo Rambaldi, who did a bunch of like Giallo special effects, and E.T. and Close Encounters special effects. He did the effects for this. The guy who made E.T.
Is Frankenstein's finger gonna start glowing?
Yeah. Said again.
Oh, snap.
Dang.
Hugged him too hard.
Way too hard. Thank you, Father.
He has too much love.
Oh, Lord. Just gonna go out for a stroll.
Anyway.
Huh.
Tanya.
Body count 1.
Tanya. He's done it. It's alive. It's alive.
YouTube.
All right, hold on. Let's see if we can pause for a second here. And okay, it was just interrupted a minute ago. So let's see. So well, okay, all right. Hold on. Well, we good. We got this. We're gonna let this go for a second, and then we'll try to get back in it. Let us know when we come back on, if we're back on. But we just got it a minute ago. Yes, we are on Twitch, and we will remain on Twitch. So if it happens, I'll be looking at my phone. So what they'll do is they'll send me another one again if we do it again. Like that's the thing. I've done this before where if I catch it, I can kind of go back and forth with us being on for a little bit. We get shut down. We're on. But if I wait too long and don't stop it, that's when they'll just go ahead and shut it down. So luckily, thank you for letting me know very quickly, audience. Much love to y'all because, again, the sooner y'all let me know, the sooner I can stop it and then keep this show moving. So let me know if we're back on YouTube yet. I think that I can check. Let's see. Quick. Yeah. Okay, we are. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we're back. We're back on.
Yeah, we're back.
All right, we're back on. So okay, yes, you see me. Thank you, Sears. So we're gonna keep going with this, and we're gonna see. Again, I'm gonna be kind of keeping my going back and forth just to make sure, and let me know again if they stop us again, then we'll just do Twitch. But for now, we're gonna try to keep this YouTube train going because, I mean, hey. I want to be on YouTube. This is
same, yeah.
Public domain content. And again, if we get a strike, I'm gonna re-gear my approach. Audience, I need you to all do a test that we're an educational show, right? We add some educational value.
All learned something here tonight.
Exactly. Again, Symposium Part 2. What we've got here on the evolution of Frankenstein in film. Scholar. See YouTube, educational. All right. All right. So, all right, we're gonna keep moving with this. So, but let us know. Go down again. So, without further ado, we're gonna get back into it right now. And what we'll do, we'll kind of volume it. We'll make sure to keep talking.
You're going to have to tell me all about.
And that way, hopefully, that doesn't trigger you.
We gotta filibuster out this movie.
Oh, dude, we're gonna make this work. This is Frankenstein Day. This will not be ruined for anything.
So Mr. Frankenstein went to Washington.
That's right.
What about my father?
Uh-oh. What about my...
Father.
My father. Tanya, I am your father. Thank you, Kathy and Sears, and yes, I appreciate that. We do have some educational discussions here on the show. We absolutely.
Hey Tanya, I hope it's not too soon, but I do know how to bring him back.
No.
Yeah, that's true. He's been there the whole time.
Tanya, I must.
Do you want to disgrace my father?
Your father's dead and you're worried about his name? You cannot keep this from the police.
Not his death.
His
life. Creature.
Oh.
That's impossible. What if it kills again? Its brain is damaged. I warned you.
Did it escape already?
It looks like it just walked right out.
Walked right out the front door. I think he did.
Tell him it was a robber.
But there is Morgan's body.
What did you do with the other corpses?
The lie tank.
Put Morgan in it.
The lie tank?
Then
Why?
Please, Charles.
I don't know, Tanya.
Put him in the truth
What
tank.
did you hope to gain?
Time.
To think of some way to save my father's reputation. Please, Charles.
Wait, so there's a monster on the loose and she's worried about his reputation?
Yep, and she just wants to keep going. Here we go. Here's the sex. He just, all of the monsters just like,
Okay, then.
All right, seen that. Check that off the list.
Oh.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, sure. Just run. Don't try to help. Oh my God.
Oh, he's acting out his instinct to throw girls in the water.
Into bodies of water. Rivers.
Yeah.
Ponds. Creeks. Anything. Any body of water will do. So, would you say that's kind of a parody of a trope there?
It certainly feels like one.
My father has been experimenting in
if you hadn't seen the original movie, I mean, I guess it would just seem like he's just killing her,
but that's
crazy monster.
100%. I think that was the intention, was to make fun of that.
Well, what did he steal?
Nothing, as far as I can tell. I haven't had time to check everything.
My father must have surprised him.
I would think it was your father who was surprised. But what would a robber be doing in a laboratory?
He wouldn't have known it was a laboratory. He must have seen the light and he wanted to investigate.
Perhaps. You said he was a very big man. How big would you say?
Had a big head.
At least half a foot taller than you, Captain.
Oh, really?
Taller than me. I was Mr. Universe 1959.
Are you sure?
He was
Dr.
actually.
Well, half a foot then.
Not.
After all, he was running away when I saw him.
I was voted Mr. Tall 5 years running.
1955 Mr. Universe. He's Hungarian American.
And then you entered a few moments after this robber killed the Baron.
I tried to stop him, but he threw me aside quite easily, and I couldn't...
And that was the time when you saw him run.
I'm but a meek scientist. I can't fight off a 7-foot tall robber.
I can't, a tall robber? You want me to fight a
I'm
tall
sure this
robber?
has been quite an ordeal for both of you. Oh, by the way, the young man...
Thomas?
Thomas, where was he?
He doesn't live here. He comes each morning very early.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course he did. He just tried to impress me. You are marvelous, Charles. Thank you.
Is she looking more evil?
What now?
Yeah.
Now
Those
we
curls.
Yeah, there's no place better on a sunny afternoon than right here. Just so long as I know with my wife.
Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Jesus.
Good Lord, it's Sarah Wills. Get the wagon, hurry.
Hit the wagon. Uh-oh. I love that. You gotta love the zoom, too. Oh my God. It was worth a shot. Try to run. Rush him.
Very fashionable.
Should have juked right.
He's so big, he can't move that
The taste
fast.
of a connoisseur. The taste of a man who truly knows what is obscene, vulgar, erotic, and simply grotesque. It's very clever the way everything blends together. How things seem to balance. Not one piece out of place. Not 1 inch of space wasted.
What?
It's truly remarkable. I am impressed. Lynch, you're such an ugly man.
Got him.
What's wrong, Captain? All your cells empty this morning?
Oh, on the contrary. As a matter of fact, some friends of yours were kind enough to spend the night with me.
I don't have any friends.
Oh, but you do. There's Simon Burke and Harry Morris.
I have
and not to mention
associates.
Jim Turner. And that other fellow, the little one with the hunchback.
Were they drunk?
Very. You see, they started a brawl in the tap in the sawmill. You do know the place.
Vaguely. But what does 4 drunks have to do with me, huh?
You see, the fight was over which one of them was going to pay for the entire bill, which was quite substantial. Your friends drink, you know.
I'm not paying. I thought you were paying.
Oh, how
You
about
invited me
Well,
out.
let me put it this way. Where do 4 such men come upon enough money for each of them to be able to pay for himself and the other 3?
Maybe they earned it.
Maybe. But doing what? Simon and Harry, they can't earn
Doing
much.
some dirty
After all,
work.
how many hangings do we have?
Not enough to suit you, Captain.
Lynch, you disappoint me.
You
I
can't
don't
make a
pass
living
sentence on
being a
anyone.
hangman.
I only arrest. Drinking alone?
No, he...
Oh my God.
Are you in the mood, Captain?
Got him.
2 of those men work for you.
Fun,
I can't see
fun.
you paying anyone enough to buy a decent dinner. Let alone a night's drinking for 4 men.
All right, Captain. I wouldn't. Maybe they found other work. Something that pays a police captain's wages.
I'm not laughing, Lynch. Just tell me what kind of work they do for you, since you have no legitimate business. Oh, I know
You
you're
ain't
a
legit.
banker,
You
so
ain't shit.
loaning out money at exorbitant rates of interest. But you're hired help. What?
They are collectors. They collect money for me.
Yes, I'm sure they do. Well, I'll leave you to your whatever a man like you calls it.
Whoa.
Same thing a man like you calls it.
One day, Lynch, you're going to tell me the wrong thing at the right time.
Nice.
It's useless, Tanya. You won't find the solution there. There isn't one anywhere.
I have the solution, Charles. I'm only looking for a way to make it happen.
Costume change.
I know.
Will you help me?
I mean, it's...
If I can.
They're pulling it off.
Will you
The
help
period
me?
costumes.
I cannot commit myself until I know what you consider the solution.
Another creature.
Definitely could be
Tanya,
Sears.
took your father and me 3 years to construct the first one.
Mine will
God.
take less than 3 weeks.
3 years.
Even if it took 3 hours, it would be too late.
Then there's been another killing.
2. I didn't want to tell you. I was in town today. Everyone in the village is speaking about the monster. That is what they called your father's life's work, a
Frankenstein's
monster. And they're right.
They are not right. My father was a genius. And his creation will...
It will do nothing but kill. You don't understand. Even without the damage to the brain, the creature has the mind of a murderer. It kills for the sake of killing. It must be destroyed.
The mind
Just
of a
loves
murderer.
killing.
Destroy it.
How can a man destroy it? No, Charles. There's only one solution. To create a second creature.
Oh my God. You want two of those things running around?
We're going to make a creature that hates killing.
An executioner. Our creature will kill my father's murderer.
No, it's impossible. Even if you found
Dang,
the right brain,
she's out
your
for
creature,
blood. Wow.
Despite the superhuman strength induced by the lightning, it would need a physical body strong enough to support it. Where would you find such
That's a
man?
movie idea for Frankenstein. The idea of strength through lightning. Like, that
Yeah.
comes from the Ghost of Frankenstein, where he literally takes a lightning bolt to the neck and then stands up like...
Yeah, well, what makes you think I can?
That's where Lon Chaney Jr.
father-
first played the Frankenstein monster.
It's all written in
So,
his diary.
pretty
He gave you a lot of money.
good movie. Like, it's... Again, the first four are pretty good.
I see.
I knew you would. Just for one night. Then I'll find you your man. It won't cost you a thing.
It will. I feel nothing but repulsion for you.
I don't give a damn how you feel about me. It ain't your feelings I want.
Your price is too high.
Then go peddle your money elsewhere.
I think Captain Harris would find my father's diary very enlightening.
My selling corpses wouldn't surprise anyone, but your father buying them now. that
Yeah,
would
I
give
sell
everybody
corpses.
plenty
What
to
of it?
talk about, huh? Wouldn't it, miss?
Good thing she can't wear a wire.
But no one else can help you. No one. After all, what's one night out of your life? Can't kill you. And after, you can take a bath and everything will be brand new again.
I'll kill him. I'll kill him!
You need a drink, Charles.
I don't know if he does. I don't. And somebody he's threatening
Still, I would
death.
kill
I
him
think
for
the
even
last thing you
suggesting
should
that.
put in their hand is drink.
I didn't know that
Nobody's
you
ever
felt so
become
much about my
violent by
reputation.
drinking alcohol.
I'm sorry. Of course you do. You are a gentleman. And so you only think of me as untouchable.
You're wrong.
Am I? Do you ever think of touching me?
Tanya, please.
Does it really bother you to know that a man like Lynch desires me?
No. Only that he was vulgar enough to reveal it.
Yeah,
to you.
Sears, I
never
like
really
those
believed
movies a
in my
lot.
father's dream.
House and of Frankenstein and
still because
Dracula,
of
but
me.
What if I did?
the monster fades to the background in a really
Because you were afraid.
sad way.
You've always been afraid. You are afraid now. We don't
Glenn
need
Strange
Lynch.
does what he can, but the monster doesn't really have a lot to do
All we
in
need
those
is each
movies.
other. I found him. Thomas.
Thomas?
Yes, Thomas.
Thomas?
Physically, he's perfect. His body's strong and beautiful. Be honest, wouldn't you like to have such a body?
What does that have to do with me?
Everything, because you love me. I know you do. But you've never done anything about it. Instead of your love for me giving you strength, you let it melt your spine.
Stop
You
it.
let it fester inside of you until
No.
all you could do was to look at me with those weird,
No.
hurt eyes.
Oh my
With
God.
the eyes of an old man. With the eyes of a cripple who could never even dream that I could love him.
She's killing it. She's gone full
She's-
supervillain.
Yeah.
Could you love me?
Yes. If you look like Thomas.
Damn.
Then love
God.
Thomas!
I can't love Thomas. He hasn't your mind. Think of it. Think of me. Think of possessing.
So she's trying to convince him
To
you like to
put
have my
his
body?
brain in this guy's body.
Would you like to make love to me?
That's also kind of a Ghost of Frankenstein idea.
Yes!
Like, let's just trade brains. Wouldn't you like to have that body?
My brain. And my heart
I could see that,
in
Sears.
Thomas's body.
His heart is as gentle as yours. Thomas, with your brain, there's a man I could truly love.
No. I won't kill Thomas for you. I'm not a murderer.
You were ready to kill Lynch.
That was different.
Murder is murder. Do it, Charles. I'll help you. I'll be your wife. I'll give you everything.
Jeez.
Go.
You tell me.
How romantic.
Poor guy. Does he have like little antennas sticking out of his head or something?
Do you like it?
Yes, very much.
I've had that ring for a long time. I'd never dared hope.
He's trying to talk her out of it. He's trying to bribe her with jewelry. Please don't kill me. So cold.
Yeah, sheesh. It's a very one-sided romance subplot.
I don't love you. I just love your brain. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God.
It's his MO. He keeps just sneaking up on people while
When
they're
people are
banging.
having it is Jason. Sears was right. He's punishing all these people for having sex.
Good morning, Charles. Don't think of Thomas now. Think of him after. The way he will be.
It's not Thomas I'm worried about. It's me. Oh.
Lynch, you cheated me.
I wanted to kill you, Lynch.
It should have been me beating you into a bloody pulp.
Oh no. Run. Oh my God, yes. Oh no. What? Got him. Run, lady. Oh no. Well, that's the most subtle kill so far. Or subtle kills, both of those. Oh no. All right, what's the verdict? Is he going to kill his kid?
No.
Wow.
Tom Lynch is dead.
I guess it makes it more brutal that
Killed
they
by the
kill a
same
kid
man
in the
who
very
murdered your
first
father.
Frankenstein
And Lynch wasn't right either,
movie. He just throws a little girl into the water.
It's pretty jarring.
I guess I haven't thought about it too much. Haven't seen that movie
The young man who was
a
with
billion
Sarah
times
Willis,
since
John
I was very
Masters.
young.
And this Mr. Masters,
Haven't
what
questioned
did
it.
he see?
He claims it wasn't a man. He said it was a monster, but he was too frightened to satisfy me. However, there's one more witness I would believe.
Who is he?
Seth Atkins' son. He saw the murderer kill his mother, but the lad's in shock. If and when I'm ever able to talk to
The
him.
lad.
Poor boy.
Sorry to bother you, Mrs. Marshall.
I'll see you out, Captain.
Thank you. You know, I've been wondering, Mrs. Marshall, why would you visit Tom Lynch, especially at his place, and at night?
The Baron owed him money, and my wife went to pay it back.
My wife?
Really, Captain? A man like Lynch here?
Of course. But then I would think Dr. Marshall should have gone, not you.
It was my father's business which made it mine. Nobody else's.
Quite. What I don't understand is why would your father owe Lynch money?
I find your probing thoroughly impertinent.
It always is. Thank you again, and good night. Oh, one thing more. You don't believe in monsters, do you?
Okay, Columbo.
Of course not.
I do.
I do. One more thing. I mean, it's got to be hard work digging into the frozen ground.
I mean,
huh?
yeah.
Hey, Jim, you sure Dr. Marshall will want it?
Am I sure? Sure, I'm sure. Whatever
Am
the
I
Baron
sure?
was doing with the corpses, Dr. Marshall was helping him. So it must be sure that he's still doing what they were doing. He'll thank us good.
To hell with his thanks.
He'll thank us good.
Money, as long as he pays us good. Come on, this ain't my favorite way to make a living.
Hey,
He's not even doing anything.
Jim, shut up. Listen.
They're working in shifts, I guess.
We got one shovel and one bottle of booze. So
I don't hear nothing.
let's take turns.
Oh my god.
Whoa!
Dang. Death throw, I guess. Oh. Jesus. You gotta love that. It's a classic Frankenstein move. It's just whomp, dead. Slap him across the head. Oh, the finisher. Wow. The power of Christ compels you. And that is going to take us to our second break. And we made it. We stayed on YouTube through that.
Hooray.
So maybe it was just one of the trailers that threw us off. I don't know. I think, hey, we'll keep riding this train as long as we can. So we're 2/3 of the way through Lady Frankenstein. What are we thinking, Evan?
I'm thinking this monster is just brutal.
Right?
Like, usually with the Frankenstein story, the monster is kind of like, he's redeemable. He's not that bad. And even though he didn't kill that kid, this guy is out for blood.
Yeah.
He just hates humanity, apparently.
It is a... It's always funny the way that Frankenstein movies, they have to find a plot device to turn this creature into a monster. So the common device is damaged brain. Somehow damaged or criminal. It's the brain of a criminal. And so that is what makes them a monster. Because otherwise, it's too much for them to say that society turns this creation into a monster because of the way that it is treated. That's what the first movie, some of the movies touch on it, but again, even the first movie has, it's a criminal brain. So he has a criminal brain and that's why he kills. It's a convenient plot way to explain it. So the very first Hammer Frankenstein movie, Curse of Frankenstein, it's the same thing. The Baron basically kills this old scientist so he can use his brain, but then the Baron's mentor shows up when he's cutting the brain out, and the mentor smashes the brain and it gets glass pieces all in it. But Baron Frankenstein is like, it'll be fine, and he just pulls out the glass pieces and it's damaged, so it's a homicidal maniac. The monster in The Curse of Frankenstein is played by Christopher Lee and is probably kind of like this, just brutal because they have an excuse for him to be brutal, so he's not discriminating. He kills a kid in The Curse of Frankenstein. He kills a kid and his grandfather. It's really it's sad because the grandfather's blind, so he kills grandfather, and then the kid, they don't show him killing the kid, but they imply it. So it's different from here, because here they gave the monster, it's like you just said, he's ruthless, but he did just spare that kid.
Yeah,
So
complicated. always so complicated, this monster. Sears makes a great point how they always, for whatever reason, decide to start their first, person they make is in the biggest, strongest body they can find, the most dangerous person that we could possibly create.
There's always this like image with the, oh my god, it's so funny. I just realized my space bar is showing a little Frankenstein's monster on it for Frankenstein Day. So yeah, it's so funny how the all Dr. Frankenstein's idea of perfection is the 7-foot tall, gigantically proportioned person. And I think that comes from the novel. We may have talked about that in our first Frankenstein Day in our symposium. I can't remember if that came from the book about the idea of the monster had larger proportions because it was easier for Dr. Frankenstein to do his like operations and stuff on the larger, I can't remember if that's from the book. They don't really remember them touching on that in the movies. They say it's a line in Young Frankenstein. There are some lines in Young Frankenstein that are pulled directly from the book, and I think that may be a line in Young Frankenstein where it's like, my creature is of gigantic proportions, blah blah blah. I don't know, it's something. It's funny how I quote all these movies, but yeah, it's again, we've been talking tonight about the evolution of Frankenstein movies, and in our first break we talked about going from the classical Frankenstein period where a lot of the tropes are established to the Monster Mash period where it's, let's take Frankenstein's monster and add something else to the formula. And by the 70s, you get a lot of exploitation, sexploitation, and then it really gets into parody, which is, I feel like, kind of the third level of the evolution of Frankenstein's monster in the movies. And of course, I think we already talked about how tonight's movie is kind of stepped in parody a little bit with that scene of him throwing the naked woman into the water, right? There's a little bit of a parody there with that thing, that trope that comes from the first Frankenstein movie, right?
Yeah. Also, could that lady just not swim?
I guess you would think if you're naked by a lake that maybe you'd been skinny dipping or something.
Yeah,
you would have that on lock, but no, apparently not. But it really, the image of the Frankenstein monster had kind of moved to parody by this time, and so that's why. I mean, even before 10 years before this, you have like the Munsters. And that idea of the Frankenstein monster image that Universal kind of made, that's the image everybody sees when they think of Frankenstein, is green, flat head, bolts. That was all Universal. And so when they make Herman Munster Frankenstein's monster, and he's kind of a buffoon family sitcom dad in the, like Homer Simpson, he's just kind of goofy. He's a lovable lug. You start to kind of change the perception of this, this pop culture image. He's not so much of a monster as he is just kind of, oh yeah, Frankenstein's monster. He's, he's silly. He kind
we
of
love the monsters.
Yeah, people. Well, yeah,
it's just like Hotel Transylvania,
and that's what We'll talk about where Hotel Transylvania fits into the fourth period.
Great, I'm so glad that fits into the conversation.
It really does. But the again, the parody period is kind of it was gatewayed by tonight's film a little bit, but of course I think we've shown the trailer for Blackenstein before. Obviously, you've got exploitation there, specifically blaxploitation. and they're parroting a lot of the tropes of the Frankenstein movies. But one of the kind of movies that builds off tonight's film in terms of, you know, representations of sex in the Frankenstein story is came 2 years after tonight's film, and it's entitled Flesh for Frankenstein. But I believe in the United States it was released under the title Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, because I think he was maybe an executive producer on it. There were people that were in the Warhol circle that were crew, cast, but I don't think Warhol really had that much to do with it. It is very much a parody of, like, tonight's film, these Gothic horror representations of the Frankenstein story. But it's very over the top and weird, and I've seen it before. It's a strange film, and obviously sex is kind of at the forefront. That's, you know, the idea of putting Warhol's name on it. So that's the first trailer we're going to see for this break. And then 2 years after that, you kind of, well, let's see. So the same year as Flesh for Frankenstein, you have the beginning of a 1-2 punch in terms of Frankenstein parodies that I think kind of killed Frankenstein movies for a little bit. The first punch was, of course, Young Frankenstein, which supreme Frankenstein parody.
Hard to follow that one.
It's pitch perfect. Especially if you're a fan of the Universal Frankenstein films, the way that it especially goes in on Son of Frankenstein and makes fun of things in Son of Frankenstein, it's like, if you've seen those movies, it's a reward when you watch Young Frankenstein. Some people, you know, you can watch it and enjoy it either way, but if you've seen those movies and you know what they're directly referencing, it's hilarious. And that's just the whole idea of Frankenstein movies in general, just use a lot of the same tropes. So it's always interesting to see how everybody kind of tries to put their own spin of it on it. And of course, I think that the second punch, the 2 punch, comes 2 years after, and it's the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Which, again, when we're talking about sex and gender and all these things,
it's got all those
themes, that's where I think Rocky Horror, and again, the idea of Frankenfurter, it's very much a parody of the Frankenstein story. And so I think that 1-2 punch kind of killed the Frankenstein movie for a little bit. But then, as Sears is actually pointing out over in the YouTube chat, a movie like Reanimator falls into the 4th category of Frankenstein movie, which I'll talk about after our break.
Okay.
So we're going to get the trailers for Flesh for Frankenstein, aka Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, and then for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And then when we come back, we'll get into the exciting conclusion of Lady Frankenstein. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Andy Warhol's Frankenstein is here.
Kiss him! Kiss him!
Newsweek magazine calls it the first original Frankenstein in years. A perversely fascinating movie.
Hold me close. Ah! Daddy, not so close! I can't... Stop it! What are you doing? I can't breathe! Stop it! Stop it!
Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, with its swooping bats, severed limbs, hideous decapitating devices, and various spare parts. They all slither off the screen in what Playboy magazine calls the most gruesome epic ever unleashed. Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, the goriest, sexiest, and wildest Frankenstein ever filmed.
You've seen all kinds of movies, but you've never seen anything like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Let's do the time war again.
Rocky Horror Picture Show is wonderfully weird.
They're probably foreigners with ways different than our own.
It's fabulously freaky. It's a trip to transsexual Transylvania. The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Transsexual Transylvania.
The story is strange.
But tonight is the night that my beautiful creature is destined to be born!
The songs are super. The scenery is smashing. The cast is completely crazy.
This isn't the Junior Chamber of Commerce, Brad.
There's a mad scientist named Frank N. Furter.
Come up to the lab and see what's on the slab.
And Rocky, his incredible creature.
I knew he was in with a bad crowd, but it was worse than I imagined.
A sinister servant named Riff Raff.
Doing the crime war!
And Brad and Janet.
My name's Brad Majors.
Just a couple of clean-cut kids.
This is my fiancée, Janet Weiss.
Touch it, touch it, touch it, touch me. I wanna be dirty.
Eddie. Magenta.
When shall we report to Transylvania, huh?
Columbia. Dr. Scott.
Great Scott!
So give yourself over to absolute pleasure. See the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And we are back. So that was the trailers for Flesh for Frankenstein, aka Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show,
which we love.
I do. It's that was another movie I saw when I was probably too young to see it. And again, but later on, when I was old enough to kind of understand it a little more, it's like, okay, and the songs are just catchy as hell.
I mean, absolutely.
You can't, hard not to bop along to that.
They play those songs on the radio still.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
they've earned their place like in the Halloween song pantheon.
Oh, absolutely. You can't. I mean, it's not Halloween without the time warp. Am I right? Come on. And we're getting to spooky season. It's very exciting. I'm already chomping at the bit. We can't wait. We'll have some good stuff for you.
I was just thinking earlier today, actually, when is it socially acceptable to put your Halloween decorations out?
I think September. You give it like a week or two.
I don't want to contribute to the Halloween creep, I
don't think there's anything wrong with that, Evan.
Okay.
Anything wrong? I think the sooner the better. I think like Christmas is how it should be. You start over a month out, you got the tree up, that's how it should be to me. But
never too early.
Never too early. But again, so you had a lot of parodies of Frankenstein movies in the mid 70s and early to mid 70s. And it just kind of killed any serious treatment of the story. So then in the 80s is the beginning of what I would say is the postmodern Frankenstein film, which is kind of a mix. They parody some of the tropes, but they try to have some original spin on it and some heart, try to mash up maybe a new element, but it's not explicitly Frankenstein always, right? So you, of course, Edward Scissorhands. Sears already said Reanimator. I think that's a great one. I mean, even more recently, again, some Frankenstein's Monster Frankenstein, which if you have Netflix and you have not seen that, go watch it
Do
right
yourself a
after
favor.
tonight's show because it is, I love it. It's hilarious. It's great. Again, Ambition, if you're interested in that theme of the Frankenstein story,
It really plays with
takes a
that-
left
that
turn, but
theme.
it's plays to the theme for sure. And of course, more recently, you have Poor Things, you have Lisa Frankenstein. So they may even fall into more of a meta modern Frankenstein. But that's what we're kind of getting toward now, is where, you know, postmodern, it's kind of that idea of like nodding and winking at the tropes, but also trying to kind of have a little bit more of a serious treatment. Postmodern is like kind of trying, or I mean, meta modern is like, it's a whole thing I just read about, so I can't give you off the top of my head the whole thing, but I think that's maybe what we're starting to head toward. We'll see where the
Meta
Frankenstein
modern.
movies go. Yeah, I think it was Glasser brought up earlier that there is a Frankenstein movie featuring Christian Bale as Frankenstein's monster that'll be hitting Netflix soon. And it's kind of a Bride of Frankenstein style story. So you know, it's one of those that it keeps on giving. It doesn't stop, but the treatments are now, it's just a mix. You get all kinds of, some people do a parody, some people do a straight adaptation. So tonight's film falls at kind of a unique time where you've got exploitation, the vibe of the 70s with gothic horror and, you know, gore. And again, this is the most slasher killer version of the monster we've probably seen. But we'll see how it shakes out for this creature and for Lady Frankenstein. Oh, and the Guillermo del Toro. That's right, Glassra.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yes. Very excited for that. That's, again, he is a big fan of the old movies and you know, devotee. So it's one of those movies he's always wanted to make. I got a Frankenstein movie I want to make one. I'm sure it'll change after I see Guillermo's version, of course. But and even the Christian Bale version, the look of his monster, they've released a picture. It's kind of similar to a design that I mocked up about 9 years ago. So I don't know. Was somebody spying on me?
Stealing your
stealing my
ideas.
design of the, you know, kind of hipster looking version of Frankenstein's monster? I don't know. I'm not here to point fingers, but it's just a thought. Anything before we get into the exciting conclusion of Lady Frankenstein?
So I haven't seen what you're talking about. How hipster are we talking here?
Hold on, I'll pull it up. Let's see.
Okay,
Okay,
'cause
hold
I'm-
on. Let's see.
Does this monster go to
Christian
Starbucks?
Bale Frank. Yeah, he looks like he could. Let's see. All right.
I guess if he was a real hipster, he wouldn't go to Starbucks.
No, he wouldn't. Let's see. Why won't you just show me a huge picture? Let's see. Open image in a new tab. There. Okay. Here we go, Evan. What do you think of that?
Whoa, damn. Look at oh my god.
Right?
With the tattoo.
Well, see, mine didn't have tattoos, so I gotta give him that. all
Hope
right?
tattoo?
Yeah. Wait, is that what it is?
Is that what it says? It's either hope or
Oh, it does look like hope, yeah.
it says elope.
It could say elope.
The rest is covered by his tie. It says, "I want to elope. Won't you elope with me?" He has that tattooed on his chest.
Could be.
He's looking for a mate.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it's different, but it's the same, right?
It looks suave.
Suave. I think that's a good, a little bit of a. It'll be. I'm interested to see it. I think it'll be good.
It looks like a Men's Warehouse ad.
Right. It does. Yeah, it does look like it is a very Dior, very cologne commercially looking version of Frankenstein's monster.
You're gonna like the way you.
Yeah. That's indeed. And Sears, I agree. I'm not a big fan of the 90s version of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Is not De Niro. De Niro's monster is just, it's De Niro. It's just De Niro. It's hard to get past that. He's a great actor, but as a Frankenstein's monster, again, very similar makeup to Lon Chaney. It's funny that makeup seems to be the cheap kind of go-to if you still want to be regular to put the scar, even with the Christian Bale makeup, right? You got some staples, scar.
I guess if you're trying to not look like the 30s Frankenstein's, like, well, if we do green and bolts, then everybody's gonna think we're just.
Well, Universal will be very quick to sue you for infringement.
So you just can't.
You just can't. Well, in 2 years,
you can.
You can. Well,
in 2 years,
the Universal will fight it, but the 1931 Frankenstein film starring Boris Karloff will be in the public domain in 2 years. So
look
or
out.
maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
2 or 3. Yeah, I think it's 3 actually. So something to look forward to though. And then they just start steadily rolling out after that. All the great horror movies start entering public domain.
Isn't that great? When's the last time you looked forward to something? Here's something to look forward to.
Well, again, it's like the Mickey Mouse thing, right? The fact that iteration of Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie is now public domain. So under those rules, the Universal iteration of Frankenstein as portrayed by Boris Karloff in the 31 version of Frankenstein will be a public domain image. So it's going to shake up all the licensing stuff with the monster, but people kind of infringe on it. I don't think Universal enforces it super hard because it's so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Kind of giving up, but I don't know. Well, anything before did I already ask you anything before? We've been going on it. It's Frankenstein Day. We're celebrating. I could go on.
They'll say you can't draw a Frankenstein, but they can't stop you from making a tall guy with bluish green skin.
No, they cannot. And in 3 years, not a chance in hell. So come at me, Universal. Come at me. I know you're going to put claim on that Bride of Frankenstein trailer. And guess what? I'm going to get it dismissed. I do. It's public domain.
Got the domain on my side.
That's the thing, especially with the trailers. It's like, come on. These trailers are public domain. You don't have a copyright notice on them. Simple as that. On that note, we are going to go ahead and get into the exciting conclusion of our Frankenstein Day feature in our season 11 premiere, Lady Frankenstein, right now.
I was here early, like always. I keep a clean place, you know. I always clean it every morning when I come.
I see. Thank you very much, Mr. Stone.
Clean it up. Yes,
Jesus.
sir. I always try to keep a clean place. That's what I
Yes,
keep.
I understand.
A nice, quiet place.
What's this guy hiding?
Doesn't make any sense.
It's beginning to make
I don't know. He's very nervous.
The most nervous.
Graveyard attendant.
Yeah, what do you call
Dig it up.
Crypt keeper.
Then dig up every one of them dated within the last 2 months.
Just what do you expect to find, sir?
Not a damn thing.
Why are you gonna make us do all this work? Press zoom. What? Oh. Just gonna kill this poor kid.
Poor kid.
Oh, no, Thomas. I wasn't laughing at you. Don't be mad at me.
No, not mad. Never mad at you.
Well, that's very kind of you. Come here, I'll help you.
Mm.
Would she just come back from the
She just came back
stores of whatever village they're in?
Yeah, she just came back from the empty box store. The way she was picking those up, it's like there's clearly just empty boxes.
She only wears the lightest garments. It's all lingerie.
Yeah.
No. Well, this is I can give this a yikes because this is fucked up what she's seducing this guy who I obviously
Sit down, Thomas.
not fully there.
That's it.
Yeah, we do have laws about this kind of thing.
Right. And I mean, I think she's about to drop it all. So warning out there if you need a warning, there's your warning.
What's going on, don't you?
Well, I didn't mean to hit yikes there, but we won't censor. We won't censor like that. That's part of. Oh my God!
What?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh. So he's a cuck, I guess. Not. Oh no, he's gonna kill him. Not that I haven't seen this.
You're beautiful.
Oh, yep, there it is. It's like, and then the guy's behind the curtain, like, get on with it. I'm back here. I'm ready to stab this guy. Yep, she's going for it. He's getting mad. He's not about it. Uh-oh, yep. He's the rage is building inside him.
What's the monster up to?
Right? Yep. It's again, I told you that eventually it was just gonna get, he gets very I mean all her motivations are about sex, basically. She wants this other guy's brain, but she thinks this dude's hot. It's kind of superficial, right?
How does this save the Frankenstein name?
It's a great question.
He's got a pillow.
Ah, the most dangerous weapon of all. No fingerprints. Oh Jesus, she's getting off on this.
She really is.
Jeez. So the whole reason this movie came about is because one of the producers was in love with this actress and was looking for something to promote her in. And she's credited under a pseudonym. She's here as Sarah Bay, but her name is Rosalba Neary.
Do you mean he was looking for her, or he was looking for a movie to put her topless in?
I think that was essentially it. And apparently originally they wanted to make a movie called Lady Dracula, but there was somebody already owned the rights to that, so they just decided, hey, Lady Frankenstein.
We'll do the other one.
Thomas Stack. Ah, he's not here. Have you tried at his home?
I went there first.
I've not seen him for a few days. Perhaps he's gone on a trip.
Tommy? Where would he be? He was never out of the county.
It's possible. Perhaps my father's death had something to do with it.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Yes, Thomas was very fond of him, and his death must have shocked him.
Oh, yes, perhaps.
I'm really sorry, but I can't help you. I'm sure Tommy will be here soon. Are you living at the inn?
I shall be.
Ah, fine. I'll tell him. He'll be so happy to see you.
Thank you,
Mrs. Marshall.
I'm so sorry to trouble you, Mrs. Marshall.
Yeah, that's
no
you can get
trouble.
away with a
We're all
lot
very
more if your
fond
name
of
is
your
Mrs. Marshall
I'm
and not
sure you
Mrs.
are.
Frankenstein.
Okay.
Ms. Frankenstein. So I guess that's Thomas's sister. Yes, Wayne. I have not seen it, but yes, I think there's a few kind of like Lady Dracula type movies. I think Carmela being one of them.
Tonight, you and I will help Thomas to become a whole human being. And my father.
Yeah.
He will live again, but with the fame he was meant to have. Charles?
I liked him, Tanya. I really did.
Think of tonight, Charles. Only of tonight.
Short recovery time on that
Yeah.
operation.
People are talking. They're saying that Baron
She
Frankenstein
knows.
is
Just
responsible.
get on with it.
They're saying that he created
It
that monster.
killed him, remember?
I mean, she's
But it didn't kill his
pretty
daughter.
devious, man.
What does she have to do with it?
Well, you know how people are, Captain, especially when they're scared. Right now, they're so scared they may do anything. Just anything. Something real crazy, maybe. To them, the name Frankenstein is 6 leagues below Satan himself.
Nice.
They don't care who's wearing it.
I like that.
Come on, John.
These guys. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Who was that dude walking out in like a very modern looking suit?
What's
the mob?
You can't change your mind now.
The tough guys.
It's too late, Tanya.
Oh my god.
I killed Thomas. You've got to make the means justify the end, for my sake.
What if I fail? Charles,
Then you fail. I'd rather give my life to you than to the hangman. Is everything clear? No questions.
No questions.
No further questions.
Remember that I love you.
I'll remember.
Now smile for me. That's the last thing I want to see. Thank you. Now begin.
It is such a wild, like, Frankenstein mad scientist stuff is so specific, you know? I'm going to take the brain out of this person and put it into this person. Like, if you're doing that, it's Frankenstein.
I do not appreciate your intrusions, Captain.
I'm trying to find your father's murder, Mrs. Marshall, and I don't see how that could be an intrusion.
Of course, you're right. Please forgive me. I've been up all night with my husband.
Then he's seriously ill.
It could be. He's resting now, and after my breakfast, so will I. Have you made any progress, Captain?
Not much, but the murderer has. 2 more men have been killed, Jim Turner and Bill Jessup. They worked for Lynch. Oh, you wouldn't know them. They're not exactly the kind you'd invite to tea.
He's dropping some Law and Order caliber one-liners left and right. Like father, like daughter.
Everything is ready, my darling. Do not be afraid. Soon we'll be together again.
Getting a little scared with this music.
As Glastra said earlier, definitely some Giallo level music. Setting the tone.
They all rejected my father's life's work. Now they'll see.
Yep, just put those electrical cords right in that solution. Fire it up. Oh, jeez. Not a very, jumper cable series. Not a very elaborate creation method.
I can't. You're alive. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here, darling.
It's true, Julia. I've seen it.
And you think that Tommy is somehow involved with this monster?
Well, not in creating it, but I think he found out about it by chance.
And Mrs. Marshall? She's part of it too?
Yes, she's lied too many times.
Mrs. Marshall.
Then she and Dr. Marshall, they would have to kill Tommy, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they?
Maybe not. Who would believe Tommy?
I would. You would too, Paul.
Not concerned about that at all. Oh, here we go. It's about time the villagers showed up with their torches.
Yeah. This movie's got to end one way.
Oh,
it's with fire.
Shit, dude. He is charging the townspeople.
Holy shit.
Have we seen the monster charge the angry mob yet? I don't think so.
I don't think so. And of course, they're charging him one at a time. Ah.
Oh. Nice. Oh no, he's cornering him. Oh, here's a gate. I gotta pull it off. He's just like the guy outside the club. He has to get in. So he'll break the doors down.
Damn it if he isn't headed straight for the Frankenstein estate. Let's go, John.
He's going home.
When I remove the stitches and your hair grows back, no one will see the difference.
She put a wig on it?
Yeah, she did.
She's put a scalp back on.
Now, Charles, put your hands like this. When I release the paper, you try to catch it between your hands before it reaches the floor. But you must look into my eyes. Bravo, Charles. Reflex is perfect, pulse normal. Everything is okay. How could I possibly know our storm would come in time?
Of course you couldn't.
One thing more, Charles.
Warren
See the
Beatty.
heavy table over there?
That one?
Go and lift it. Go on, Charles.
Lift it. Lift it good.
Just wreck all this lab stuff.
All my life, I've wanted to do something like that.
You can now, Charles. You're a young man again.
I've always wanted to
Handsome,
lift the
strong,
desk.
intelligent, and beautiful man.
The brain of a scientist and the body of a farm boy. The perfect combination.
Mrs. Marshall! Mrs. Marshall!
Quit calling her
What is
Mrs.
it?
Marshall. You all know what her name is. Make her sound like she's a
You must see
freaking
him,
housewife.
He'll just
TV
keep on coming
housewife.
back. Come on, go and see him. Hurry.
Sitcom.
Go.
Housewife.
I must see Dr. Marshall.
Impossible. He's still extremely ill. I cannot permit.
I'm not asking your permission.
Really, Captain Harris, this is a...
Yes, it is,
I
Mrs.
shall
Marshall.
report you to your superiors.
You do that.
Please leave my home.
Not until I see your husband.
Really, you have no right, Captain Harris. My husband is very ill.
I really want that night
That's
suit
far enough,
move.
Captain.
Aw.
I'm sorry, Captain, but my illness is quite contagious. You shouldn't risk coming any closer.
I want to speak to you alone.
Whatever you have to say, I want my wife to hear it.
Very well. I came to warn you about the monster that you and Baron Frankenstein created. I hold you responsible in the deaths of 8 people, including the Baron.
Of course you can prove it.
If I could, I would be here to arrest you. I know that you are my proof. I want you alive, Doctor.
Why should anyone want to kill my husband?
Not anyone. Only the monster he helped to create. Of those killed, 4 were responsible for giving it life. You, Doctor, are the 5th and last.
That's absurd, Captain. How could Lynch and those other 2
By
men...
providing your father and your husband with corpses. I don't have to tell you how they were used.
How else are we to know what you are talking about?
Those jars in the laboratory, it won't be difficult to prove they contain human organs and not animal. No, Doctor. You never considered the creature might not appreciate your miracle. That's why he killed the Baron, the 3 other men. That's why he must kill you.
Why didn't he kill Charles?
3
when he
other
killed
men?
my
How many
father?
women did he kill?
Because your husband wasn't in the laboratory at the time.
This is the most extraordinary fable I've ever heard. You really disappoint me, Captain. A robber killed the Baron. As for those other 2 pyramids of integrity...
This is the thing
anyone
about the
could have had
Frankenstein
sufficient
brain
reason to kill
transplant
them.
stuff that doesn't
Perhaps
make sense in
it's
any of
your
the movies.
incompetence that's led your imagination
Why would
awry.
he have the voice
I suggest you
of the
take a
guy
look.
Very
whose
well.
brain
I've
is
warned
now
you.
there and not the same?
Remember,
he has the
lies
same
can't
vocal
keep you alive,
cords
Doctor.
Yeah.
as the
But I
body.
can.
Right.
But
Your
like that's
concern
the
is a great
great thing
comfort
in
to me.
Ghosts of Frankenstein
Good night,
is at
Captain.
the end,
I don't know
Lon
what you've
Chaney's
done with
monster
Thomas, but
gets
I'll
the
find
brain of Bela Lugosi's Igor, so he's talking and Chaney's talking, but Lugosi's voice is coming out, and it is amazing, dude. It's electric. It's and Lugosi's killing it, and Chaney's killing it, but it makes no sense. Why would he have his voice when he?
Every available man, Peter. I want this place surrounded. And
But
make
they-
sure the men tell
this
no
movie's
one,
doing it too.
especially their wives. Now hurry.
Yes, sir.
Were the wheels on that wagon moving?
Not see.
You don't know where to look.
It'll find me. Tonight. Tonight it will be here.
Charles.
What? I don't understand what they're talking about. Just being in the mood? Is that what they're talking about?
Or that the monster will be back. Oh.
Dude, he loves gates and fences.
Well, he hates gates.
True. He just likes crashing and smashing.
He goes where he pleases.
Oh, we got a nice little POV shot there. Did you see that? That really added a lot. He just waltzed back in the castle.
Yep. Walked right
They're not
back
putting
in.
locks on these doors.
Look, the Frankenstein house is always open. Say what you want about their ethics, their morals, but they're
The
hospitable
door
people.
is always open.
He thinks he just killed you. It's finished. We can control it. It doesn't have to kill again. We can show the world that my father didn't fail. That he wasn't insane. Think of us, Charles. The power. The fame.
No, I must kill it.
Yes, you're right. Kill it.
Why did you change your mind, Tanya? Because you know that no matter which of us survives, you still win? You do know. You've always known.
It's Captain Harris. See if he's dead.
Oh shit! I didn't even realize that was the captain.
Yeah, he killed the.
Let's go.
I thought it was, but I was like, they wouldn't have killed him that fast. Nice. Oh, his finisher move. They both have lightning strength. Ooh. Don't help your husband. That's a slapstick move. You can't do that. And she's just not gonna do anything. Oh! Why did it look like the captain was running in?
He's back.
Uh-oh. Oh, no, yep. You can't beat that. Well, at least she jumped in at some point. Oh! She killed him too? Can't stop, won't stop. Oh. Oh, nice.
So that'll do it.
That's why his head's that big, so they could fit that French piece in there.
You love me. You love me.
I was hoping you would fight for me.
I belong to you.
This was a rom-com the whole time.
My love.
Nice. No evidence, no due process, just...
We're mad.
We're mad. You don't see that a lot these days, but
You're too late, Captain.
we've seen some
Get him
equivalent.
out of here. Get him out. All right, let's go.
Angry mob storming.
You've got to get out of here.
elaborate buildings. What? Oh wait, the captain's still alive? And they're doing it. Oh my god. They're going for it. Uh-oh. Oh shit. Damn!
Wow.
What a way to end it. That was Lady Frankenstein. What did we think, Evan?
That ending was pretty wild. I was not expecting that.
Oh, you weren't expecting them to be having sex in the middle of a raging mob created fire, and then for her to get strangled because she was being devious and you know, just kind of, I mean, her poor Dr. Marshall. That's all I have to say. Poor Dr. Marshall. He got his just revenge in the end. It was a, you know, I don't know. It's a wild ending for sure.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild ride. Pretty fun movie, I thought.
By the 70s, they know what the people want. They know what the
Yeah.
audiences want. Y'all want violence and sex and gore and
It hits all the
blood.
beats. I guess we can ask, you know, how is this actually a feminist movie? Does it? Do they accomplish, or what were they even intending to go for?
That's the question. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I appreciate the I appreciate how much they give Lady Frankenstein to do. I appreciate how she just goes for, I mean, she's just complete head first jumping into villain territory. So I don't know. It's a girl. It's kind of a girl power kind of movie, right?
Yeah, but in a way, but she does take advantage of this guy.
That's true. She's not a good person.
She's not a good person. And then, you know, the fact that she gets murdered in the end.
Yeah.
You know, that is kind of a Shakespearean. That's an interesting way to look at it. Sears, I can 100% see that.
Yeah.
I think
it's kind of tragic in a way. You know, I guess her flaw is she's just too horny, I guess, man. I don't know. It did kind of do her in the end.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you can say it's feminist, where it's like, oh, she was just so horny that she was her own worst enemy.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, when the angry mob is storming the castle and you're just mid coitus, it's kind of like, I think your priorities are in the wrong.
Should we get out of here?
Lady Macbeth, yeah. Yeah, I guess I did read some article or something that said that it's in a way a play on the ending of Bride of Frankenstein, where, you know, the castle's blowing up and Dr. Frankenstein is able to run out in the nick of time while his bride and everybody else dies in the explosion. Whereas here, you know, the doctor and the creature are, you know, doing it as the place is coming down around them. So it's, you know, again, that's where the first third of the movie is very much a Frankenstein movie, and then the 2/3 after that is very much a sexploitation.
The Lady Frankenstein movie.
Lady Frankenstein. So, but it's fun. Yeah, it was an enjoyable film, and it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I might have wished that the monster had, I don't know, that we had a little more monster. I mean, I guess he had a lot of screen time, but I really feel like the focus was more on Lady Frankenstein.
Which title, you know, makes sense. But yeah, it wasn't a lot of monster action. You know, what we got was okay. He was again, if we're gonna do a tier list of Frankenstein's monsters, it's gonna gonna take some time for me to sort that out, but I think he's about mid-tier. This tonight's monster. He's not the worst. Frankenstein's monster, certainly not the best. I mean, there's only one in the top tier, and we all know who that is. But again, there's a lot of monsters, so who knows? Glastra, very good point. Yes, Lady Frankenstein, was the true monster here. Which again, in the novel, even, is society the monster? Is Dr. Frankenstein the true monster? That's kind of the beauty of it. It's those themes. It's just it all lends itself to interpretation, and it's all there. This is the beauty of novels and writing, is that as opposed to films, is this, you don't need one encompassing theme. You give a lot for people to grab onto and gravitate toward. And that's, I think, why Frankenstein is a novel. It's still taught in schools, still in schools to this day. It still has that power of being interpretive, that it connects, people can connect to it. The movies are a little more varied, and but it was fun. It was a good movie. So I think I will say the thing I was surprised with was how many comparisons I could make between this movie and Ghost of Frankenstein, which, like I said earlier, has Lon Chaney Jr. playing the monster. I say that to say that next week we're going to be seeing a movie with not Lon Chaney Jr., but Lon Chaney Sr. As we get into our second film of season 11, we're getting, we like to do our silent films a little early in the season. We do at least one a season. And so we're getting some Lon Chaney Sr. action, and this is a little more up our alley in terms of horror. The two other Chaney Sr. movies that we've seen, Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame, they're not, horror is not necessarily the primary objective with those movies. They're literary adaptations, they're dramas. So they're not really trading in too much on the horror of it all. But next week's film is a mad scientist, monster, haunted house horror comedy.
Okay, that's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words. And it is entitled The Monster from 1925. And it features Lon Chaney Sr. as a mad scientist and in this haunted house. And it's a horror comedy, and it's a silent film. But we've seen a few old Dark House movies on the show, and we've seen some horror comedies on the show. This is the earliest one by far, and so it's gonna be a lot of fun. I haven't seen it before, so I'm very excited for that. And a good segue from one mad scientist to another, right? Keeping it going. We started a week later than we were supposed to. I had originally planned to start last Friday with a vampire movie, and then go from vampire into Frankenstein, and then, on and on and on. And I guess I'm just going to save that movie for another season. That was one of my controversial movies for this season.
Okay.
I decided we'll save it for another time. But even tonight's movie's a little controversial, a little more risque content than we normally get, but it was all pretty, it wasn't too gratuitous, I don't think. It was arty. You got to give it up to the Italians. They're not gonna overdo it per se.
Yeah, that the seduction of that guy was very arty.
Well, you do have to give it up with the idea of the other guy hiding behind the curtain, and there's
right,
yeah. No, it was something else.
They
But
should have played that Giallo music during that.
right, yeah. But we had a lot of fun with tonight's movie, and we had a lot of fun with our audience. So again, Sears, Kathy, Wayne, Glastra, Alana, everybody that tuned in tonight and chatted, we appreciate it as always. Makes it a lot of fun when there's people in the chat and you know giving us their really great observations. So it was a lot of fun, a great way to spend a Frankenstein day, and we'll be back at it next week, and we'll be kicking off our mini-sodes this Wednesday, and I was kind of struggling with what to do.
The
I've got a show. I think it'll be good. Should I reveal it now or should I keep it
If you've decided, why not?
So it is entitled Suspense. It is a very early, I think started in the late 40s into early 50s TV show. Live, much like Lights Out and Tales of Tomorrow and all those other shows. These are a little more dramatic. They're not as horror or sci-fi inclined. The genre is a little less pronounced, but it should still be fun. It should still be a good time. So wait, hold on. Yeah, it's Suspense. Because I didn't know if there were enough episodes, but I think there are. There's another show called Climax that there were some episodes I was looking at from that, and I was getting confused. Suspense or Climax? They're very similar shows, so but I believe it's Suspense. So,
well, can't wait for Wednesday. The suspense is killing me.
Yeah. It's going to be great. And of course, we'll be having our Saturday Night Shockers and our Spine Tingling Tales. We'll be getting those up and running again. I had hit a little bit of log jam. We'll be getting that up. And of course, as we get into spooky season, we'll have all kinds of exciting stuff for you guys. So very excited for that. So stay tuned. Keep it going strong. We're having fun. We'll keep having fun. But anything else before we sign off tonight for our season 11 premiere, Evan?
So, in all these monster movies, they always try to shoot the monster and it never works. But I think this might be the first time I've ever seen someone just stick it with a sword. Like, that's the secret. It took a doctor to figure that one out.
I'll leave it to the professionals. Until next week. Sweet screams, everybody.
And to all a good fright.